What's up, guys? Welcome back to another month of Hospitality TV Wine Club Wines. This is the month of April for month number 5. It's crazy how quickly it's gone by. For the OGs who have been on since month number 1, thank you so much for your support. You know who you are. I really appreciate you. It means a lot. We're moving forward with another month of great wines, in my opinion. One of my favorite grapes, Syrah. And we're going to look at an old world versus new world comparison of the grape. Now, I know I've been doing the who, what, where, when, why, and how approach, the scientific method of tasting. Seems a little robotic at times. I just scratched it. I don't like it. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to kind of tell you about the wine. We'll keep it quick and to the point because that was the whole purpose behind that approach. And let's go from there. So I'm filming at home today, guys. I got my little Raphael characters out here. That's when you know I mean business, right? All right, let's get into the wines. So wine number 1, I like to start with the old world wines because they tend to be a little bit leaner than the new world wines. This isn't always the case, but it is here. Wine number 1 is going to be a Syrah from the Northern Rhône. So the producer here is Domaine, Durand, right? That's the who. It's going to be 2 brothers, Eric and Joel, who are doing this very small run property, right? They're growing Syrah out of this area of the Northern Rhône. So on the bottle, you're going to see Saint Joseph. Now, again, as I always mention with Old World, once you get some of the regions down, you can know the styles of the wine. Thankfully, on the back, it says 100% Syrah, so you know what you're getting into. But Saint Joseph is part of the Northern Rhône. You're going to see other appellations in the Northern Rhône in France, like Côte Rôtie, Hermitage, Crozes Hermitage, Cornat, and this little guy, Saint Joseph, nestled right in the middle, making really world-class styles of Syrah, right, all over the gamut for price points. Just so that you know, in the Southern Rhône, you get the more of the GSM blends, right? Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. You might see this in Côte de Rhône or areas like Châteauneuf-du-Pape, which hopefully we'll get into soon when we do the month of Grenache coming up soon. All right, this is the 2015 vintage for this wine. Not a bad vintage for the wine. Very much like that. These guys work on very small plots of lands. There's a lot of hard work that goes into them. It's all hand harvesting. There's no mechanics involved. Kind of a very hands-off approach too. They age the wines in large neutral barrels, so there should be no oak influence on this wine. The only thing we'll be getting out of it is kind of the characteristics of Syrah itself, right? So let's dig into the wine and see what we think. You know, it has that very dark blue, dark red fruit component on the nose. It's kind of funny to say because this wine is grown in granite soils. That's what the region is for. And you kind of get this granitic, almost pencil-leady component to the wine. And no sweetness like vanilla or anything baking, like baked pie or anything that we get when we have wines that have some oak on them. So let's get into the palate, see what it tastes like. It's funny, it's kind of ripe blue fruit up front and then definitely finishes with a drier sensation to it. This wine is killer. What I love a lot about these Northern Rhône Syrahs too is that they have this velvety texture around them, but it's not a creamy texture like you would get with the use of new French oak. It's more of just a nice, smooth kind of velvet that wraps around your tongue, which is really nice. Again, going back to the darker fruit components, darker blueberry, darker blackberry, and you definitely get this violety floral component to the wine, a little lavender. And it has the mineral-driven dry finish, which is what I like about this style. It definitely has that dry, minerally finish on the wine, which I like, and I think it's very textbook to the wine. It's not an overbearingly dry style, let me throw you off with that. Like when we taste some Italian Nebbiolos or Barolos or Barbarescos or even some Chiantis and things like this that finish super dry, this is not that. It's just a little bit more on the dry side. Okay, so that's wine number 1, right? That's the old world style. If you enjoy this style of Syrah, a couple of things real quick. So what else would you look at? You should look at Cru Beaujolais, right? Beaujolais is a part of the southern part of Burgundy. If you get a richer Cru Beaujolais, that's something you should look into. You know, some richer styles of Pinot Noir might be kind of on par with some of this, but I really recommend you guys drink a little bit more Syrah. There's some really beautiful expressions out there. I think that this is one of them. Look for California Syrah and look for Washington Syrah. There's some really, really fun deals out there for sure. Last one, pro tip. If you're in the supermarket, one of my favorite producers, Guy Gall, they make incredible high-end wines. Actually, they make wines at all tiers, but they make some really famous Northern Rhône Syrahs. But one of their entry-level wines that you can get at the grocery store, Guy Gall Côte de Rhône, which is normally an area that produces Grenache-based wines. Their wines are actually high proportions of Syrah. So you can get these banging Syrah-based Côte de Rhônes for like $15 at the grocery store. So that's just a little pro tip for you guys. You should check it out. I should get some royalties or something like that for recommending all these other wines. Okay, so moving into wine number 2, we have the Torbreck Shiraz. Boom. This is one that I've been super pumped on for a while. I really like this producer. They make some really, really great wines. Again, all over the gamut of price points. I recently had a 2002 Rhône rig from them. It's a label that they make that absolutely blew my mind. Definitely top 5 wines I've ever tasted. It was unbelievable. But in my opinion, their woodcutter Syrah, which is one of their more entry-level styles of Syrah that they make, is absolutely mind-blowing and textbook in style for what you should be getting out of the Barossa Valley in South Australia. So let's taste the wine. So again, just to recap real quick, producer Torbreck, right, made by the winemaker Ian Hongel, who we're going to have on the Zoom call on Wednesday. So guys, please hop on. I would just love to see some of your lovely faces that I haven't seen in a minute too, and would love to hear any questions that you guys have on these wines as well, or at least on the Torbreck, since we're going to have the winemaker on. Again, the area is the Barossa Valley in South Australia, so it's known for being a warmer climate, right? They normally say that wines are made between the 30th and 50th latitude, and they're on the 33rd south latitude, so they're pretty close to like how far you're getting to the equator, to where it's too hot to make, you know, balanced wines or wines of quality. But they have really intense diurnal shifts, with the shift between day and night, which helps to keep the grapes fresh and the acidity levels high and all that we need for good quality wines. This is their woodcutter Syrah, younger vines, fresher style. It's a 2018 vintage, which means that it's a pretty young style. It's ready to drink. So Torbreck also likes to say that they're a very hands-off approach, unfined, unfiltered. They don't like to manipulate the wines at all. And then as far as aging, they do age the wine for 12 months in toasted French barrels, which is what they like to say. So it's definitely, should expect a little bit of oak influence on this wine. Let's get into it, let's see what it tastes like. So on the nose, there's this really cool kind of savory component to the wine. Again, even for being New World, it's not like this bomb coming out of the glass. And I'm getting a very savory kind of olivey note. And you know what, I forgot to mention that I definitely get that in the first one as well. And that is a characteristic of Syrah that I always like to throw in on top of the gamey and meaty component and beef jerky component. You always tend to get this green or black olive note as well, right? I think that that's something that's very characteristic of the grape. I'm getting a little bit more here actually on the Torbreck. Let's take a little taste. Oh yeah, you can feel the depth of this wine. There's a much higher viscosity compared to wine number 1. It sits a lot denser on the palate. I know we were saying that wine number 1 definitely coats your palate, but man, so does this one. It sits rich and dense, covers your entire mouth. There just feels like there's a lot more weight to it. The wine is 15% alcohol, so that is going to be a full-bodied wine compared to the 14% of the Syrah. There's definitely a noticeable difference between the two as far as the body and weight of the wines. Man, this is dark berry, dark boysenberry, dark blackberry, dark blueberry, all mixed into one. Again, there's a rounder creaminess from the wine that you get. So I think this wine is, again, it's big and massive, but it's in check. It's well-rounded. It's kept together with a ton of different layers. Another thing I'm getting out of this wine a lot is this black licorice component, right? I think it's very classic to Syrahs from South Australia. Man, this is intense. So again, if you enjoy this style of wine, I would also recommend looking into other styles of, you know, New World Cabernet, right? That have this big, bold structure with darker flavors, elevated tannins. They're not overwhelming, but they're there to keep the wine in balance, right? So you should look at New World Cabernet, either from Washington, obviously Napa, areas like this. I think that you should look into wines like Zinfandel, even, I think would be in the same group or category as this for big, full-bodied and fruit-forward. Another one that you should check into is Amarone, right? It's a style from the northeastern part of Italy, where they make Valpolicella and Amarone-based wines that have this big, darker concentration of fruit. I think it's an interesting area to be able to drink wines that kind of fall into the same group or category, right? Okay, so that's my breakdown. I hope I didn't go too long. Guys, please let me know if you have any questions. Try to join the Zoom call if you can. And again, thank you so much. Looking forward to keep on providing you with better and better wines.